name is Cuba Houghton. I work at the International Budget Partnership Kenya, and we're a civil society organization focused on making budgets work better for people and having conversations around our public budgets in Kenya. And I think one of the great things to appreciate about the Finance Bill of 2024 is that we have an indication of actually the tax proposals that are likely to be introduced in this Finance Bill, which is an advantage that we haven't had in previous finance bills in the past. And that's, of course, having to do with the release of the medium-term revenue strategy, which is supposed to provide some sort of certainty around and predictability of tax proposals going forward. And some of the things we see in the medium-term revenue strategy that will likely come out in the finance bill of this year include, reforms in personal income tax. For example, changes in the tax bands to make them more progressive. And there is a study we saw from KRA and KIPRA around perhaps how that could be done. There's also reforms in VAT, for example, the removal of exemptions on educational services and supply of educational services, which was initially introduced to incentivize investment in the education sector. And so it's interesting to see perhaps what will be an implication of that and whether we'll see it in the finance bill of this year. We also see some new kind of taxes related to climate change and certain policy objectives, including a motor vehicle circulation tax, which is meant to essentially be a tax on, for example, during annual registration of a vehicle, so a renewal of insurance around, historically it's meant to achieve many policy objectives, or it's been intended to achieve many policy objectives, but it's unclear perhaps what the policy objective here would be. So, for example, is it meant to reduce congestion in certain sections of the country? Is it meant to reduce pollution among other policy objectives? So it's be interesting to see what actually is the objective there. A final interesting one, of course, is more reforms around the informal sector and the hard to tax sectors. So we see the possibility of an introduction of a presumptive tax, and also other taxes around that aim to expand the tax base. But I think it would be important for us to consider that the finance bill of this year is intending to collect 330 billion more than we intended to collect last year, right? An increase of about 15%. And so that's kind of the context within which we can expect the proposals to be around the finance bill. Also to appreciate that the finance bill is the culmination of many budget processes that have led up to this point. From the issuance of the circular by National Treasury late last year, or in August of last year, to the budget policy statement in February, and now to the finance bill. So there's a number of decisions that have led up to the proposals in the finance bill, and it will be interesting to see eventually how it turns out.